Alright guys, so for today's video, we're going to talk about a concept that I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of, and that is the idea that the jail can refuse people due to medical reasons or intoxication. And because of that, a lot of the people that we come in contact with as police officers would be refused at the jail for intoxication. The reason for this is because, as a jail or a correctional facility, whatever you have, if you accept somebody into your facility that is intoxicated to the point where they might die, or at least have severe health complications, or someone that has ingested narcotics and might overdose later, or simply somebody that is extremely sick with an extremely severe infection that requires hospitalization. If you accept those people into your facility and then something happens to them, they die or something like that, you are now on the hook for civil liability. The families are going to sue. It's going to be in the newspaper, say that people die, unsafe conditions at the jail, this, that, and the other thing. Therefore, when a police officer takes someone to jail, they actually have to go through a medical screening and a mental health screening when you get there to make sure that they are well enough to be accepted into that facility. If they are not well enough, that facility has the right to refuse that person, and it's now the responsibility of the police department to either issue that person a summons, like take them to the hospital, release them on a summons so that they can go to court later. Or if it's a crime that's serious enough, the police officers are actually required to sit in the hospital with that person while they recover, and then they can take them to jail. Thinking about that right now, I sat on guard duty on a prisoner the other day, and I can see what the officers are doing at work right now. They are still guarding that prisoner. It's a woman who was pregnant that was arrested, and during her arrest, she told the officers that she ingested multiple baggies of fentanyl. When you are given that information, you have to relay that information to the jail. That person is going to be refused at the jail. So rather than take them to the jail, you call a medic. They're taken to the hospital. This woman has now been in the hospital for at least 4 days. And that is the police department that is sitting there guarding her, making sure that she doesn't die from a fentanyl overdose. She's in the hospital, so if something happens, she's already in the right spot. So it is what it is. These are the reasons that these kind of things happen. But the focus for today's video is I want to talk about intoxication. And the reason for that is because when I post videos on the body camera channel, I always see comments from people saying, why are you being so nice to this person? Just take them to jail and get it over and done with, yada, yada, yada. Well, the reason for that is someone who is incredibly intoxicated will get refused at the jail. So that's a reason that a lot of these people that are intoxicated, we don't arrest them, simply because it would be a tremendous waste of time on our part. And I have a video that I can show you to kind of document that. And then I have another story that I want to tell you to kind of sum everything up. The video that I want to show you is this one here. This was posted on the body camera channel. I don't know when I posted it, but the incident happened last year. Actually, really close to about a year ago now, November 18th, 2022. These are officers that work kind of on the north side of town to the northeast side of town, and they were called to a convenience store that has some kind of slot machines or internet gambling that occurs there. They had a guy that pulled up to the slot machines, got so intoxicated, he passed out on the ground, was refusing to get up. So the officers responded, and here's what they encountered. I skipped ahead a little bit.
We can help you. Can I help you up? Come on. There we go.
Feet up. There you go.
You okay? You want to put your shoes on? You good?
Yeah. There you go.
Careful. I don't want you falling.
Look at me.
What's up?
Look at me.
Easy.
Hey, put shoes on.
Oh, shit. Hey. I don't even know.
Keep your pants up.
Hey, you want to put your shoes on, man, right there?
Hey, y'all look like twins?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you want to put your shoes on? Just keep your hands down.
Here, let's put your shoes on, buddy.
Sir?
Where do you...
All right, so these officers now are in an encounter with a guy who is so intoxicated he doesn't know what planet he's on. He's unable to control himself. Usually people at this level of intoxication have urinated in their pants. It is what it is. When you have somebody like this, you know for a fact the jail is not going to accept them. They're too drunk. You know, he might have alcohol poisoning. He might go lay down in a cell and die, and the jail is not going to accept that person. So your alternatives then are to take him home, find a responsible party to watch over him, or take him to the hospital. What these officers chose to do is they took him home, or they took him where they believed his home was. I mean, they eventually loaded him up. They get to this house. They go knock on the door. Nobody comes to the door. Now they're kind of stuck with this guy. What they chose to do is go ahead and arrest him, because you can't just force somebody to the hospital against their will for intoxication. You can, but there's some legal gray area there, right? So they said, you know what? We're stuck with this guy. We can't just take him home. So we're going to arrest him for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, disorderly conduct. So then what they do is they know, you know what? This guy is so drunk, the jail is not going to accept him. So we have to take him down to the hospital. So they then took him down to the hospital, and they had to wait at the hospital for like 4 hours for him to sober up enough for him to be taken to jail. This incident started at like 5 something, early 5 o'clock. I can go back to the beginning. 5:30. Well, they're only half hour into the incident at this point. But now they're at the hospital. They're going to be stuck there for 4 hours. Then they're going to have to take him to jail afterwards. You know, as a patrol officer, as a police officer, you have to evaluate every situation that you encounter and determine how much time you're willing to spend on that call. The area where I work, where these guys work, is busy, but it's not as busy as the area that I work. They chose to do this, to occupy their time this way. This is not something, generally speaking, that I'm willing to spend my time on. Arresting someone for public intoxication, that is, you know, a lot of the people that I deal with are high, intoxicated, and they're homeless. If I arrest them and I have to go to the hospital, this arrest is now going to tie me and another officer up for the next probably 6 hours. That 6 hours of time, we have to decide, you know, is this the best use of my time, or can I do something else with this guy quickly and do something better with my time? Basically, be available to respond to 911 calls, because where I work, that is probably one of the most important things I can do. Simply be available for 911 calls. So rather than getting tied up for 6 hours with someone that's intoxicated and the jail's not going to accept them, often I'll just find something else to do with them. Take them home, find a responsible person that can watch over them, or convince them that they need to go to the hospital. If I can convince them that they need to go to the hospital and they are going willingly, it's not a violation of the rights to take them to the hospital. If they do not want to go to the hospital, if they're refusing to go to the hospital, you cannot just see somebody who's intoxicated and force them to go someplace without a criminal charge. If you criminally charge them, you now have custody of them and you can drive them basically wherever you need to drive them to get the job done. So what I typically do is I convince people to go somewhere. I ask if they're willing to go, and they do. I had one of these the other day that it still kind of ended up coming back to bite me. It was a call about an intoxicated person, or actually it was a call about a dead body. Turns out they were just intoxicated. This dude was so drunk he was laying in the bushes. I get there, the medics get there. They actually recognized him because they ran on him the night before. And he actually had a hospital band on his wrist still from when the medics responded and transported him to the hospital for intoxication. They looked at me and they said, listen, we just ran on him about 6 hours ago. We already took him to the hospital once. We have fulfilled our obligations. We're not going to do it again. It's a waste of our resources. So you guys are basically stuck with him. I looked at the medics, said, you know what? I understand. I'll take care of him. So I got him up. I convinced him to walk over to my car. I said, you know what? You and I are going to go to the drunk tank today. We have a drunk tank in the city where I work that accepts people who are intoxicated by way of alcohol. So I drove him all the way across town. It's about a 20-minute drive, not a big deal. It's still a lot better than doing all the paperwork, taking someone to jail, risking getting refused, having to go to the hospital for 4 hours, yada, yada, yada. So throw him in the car, drive over to the drunk tank, walk in the door, write his name on the log, write my name on the log, and then stand there and we do the in processing. What they do at the drunk tank is they give their clients a breathalyzer. They give them a breathalyzer for two reasons. The first reason is if you're going to go to the drunk tank, you have to be drunk. You have to be intoxicated. So they wanted to test to make sure that he had alcohol in his system. The second reason that they give you a breathalyzer when you go to the drunk tank is because they want to make sure you're not too intoxicated. Because believe it or not, and I didn't necessarily know this up until that point, you can actually be too intoxicated for the drunk tank. And guess what? The guy that I took to the drunk tank was too intoxicated for the drunk tank, and he had to be taken to a hospital. These are the frustrating things that police officers encounter on the street that take up a lot of time that I think a lot of citizens don't realize. So not only did I have a guy who was too intoxicated to go to the jail, he was also too intoxicated to go to the drunk tank. I then had to convince him to get in my car, take him to the hospital, walk him into the ER, tell them the same story. And then I also had to tell them that, hey, once he is medically cleared, you can call out to the drunk tank. They said that they'd send a car for him. So while it did tie up the hospital resources for a period of time, hopefully he wasn't there for too long and they were able to unload him and he was able to get back to the place. But I wanted to tell that story because there is a lot more to this job than what most people realize. And it's just not as simple as people think. See drunk on the side of the road, lock up drunk, take him to jail, dump him off, go to the next one. That's not how this stuff works. These things take hours. And if this guy had shot somebody, if this was a violent criminal that had done something egregious, like a violent felony, I will spend 6, 8, 18 hours, 20 days, no matter what it takes to make sure that that person gets put in jail. But if it's someone that's just a homeless person who's drunk on the side of the road, it's not worth my time. The other thing you have to remember is that the judges don't care either. So I'm going to write this guy his charge, take him to the jail, get refusal at the jail, go to the hospital, sit at the hospital for 4 hours, take him back to the jail, and he's going to sit at the jail until he's sober enough to get up and leave. They're going to wake him up, tell him to leave. They're not going to make him pay a bond or anything because that's the new world that we live in. Eventually he'll go to court. When he goes to court, his charges will be dismissed. In the county where I live and operate, there is basically 100% guarantee that that charge is going to be dismissed. So why should I spend 6 hours of my time writing a charge and sitting on a prisoner that is just going to get dismissed anyway? It's not worth it. Therefore, we just pick these people up, take them home, take them to the hospital, do something else with them. That's the reason we don't just scoop people up and arrest them. I think I've covered it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.